Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Students for Political Engagement. Today we have an interview with Ms. Tabinda Jatoi. Welcome, Ms. Tabinda Jatoi. She's running for Ward 2 Councillor. Welcome. Just before we get started, would you like to provide a short introduction of yourself?
Thank you, sure. Good morning, and thank you so much for inviting me here. It's a wonderful opportunity to get in touch with all the residents through this virtual platform, and I think we all are getting used to of it. So, well, I'm Tabinda Jatoi, candidate for City Councillor Ward 2. I'm living here in Ward 2 for last 10 years with my son and husband. And it's a wonderful community, wonderful neighborhood. And of course, we are enjoying. So I am internationally educated former medical doctor and former maternal and child health advisor with Jatoi, an affiliate of Johns Hopkins University. And currently I'm practicing as a registered holistic health and nutritional counselor, as well as a licensed immigration consultant. So bringing in my diverse experience with healthcare, not-for-profit organizations, immigration and settlement services, and knowledge of multiple cultures, ethnicities, and languages, I strongly believe I can be the strong voice of the residents at the council table. And I have been volunteering with various organizations, and currently I am a volunteer co-leader with the Sisterhood of Salam Shalom for York chapter, and have also volunteered as a director with Canadian Esophageal Atresia Network, being a strong advocate for individuals with special needs. So being an advocate for social justice, I want to strongly address the issues of mental health and well-being, affordable housing, sustainable development, food insecurities, neighborhood safety, and the climate action. So I'm running to give back to community and to address all these issues. And I believe I'm never going to let my residents down, because I will take decisions at the council table in the best interest of all the residents of Richmond Hill. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that answer. And I think our first question is related to something that you mentioned, which is community safety. So, which is, of course, an important part of a livable community. So what would you do as a counselor to maintain and improve community safety in Richmond Hill?
This is a very important question, because it's all about the safety, and everyone want to be very much safe in their home, and when they especially step out of their houses, they want to feel safe as well. And especially when the parents, they send their kids to school, they always want them to be safe, reach over there and come back home. And the same is the case when we leave for work or to go out. So I acknowledge that there are some strong concerns of safety in certain areas, and in my ward as well. There are issues of homelessness, violence, and some break-ins. And I believe as a counselor, I must listen to the residents actively and address all these concerns in timely and efficient manner. I would strongly collaborate with all the regional partners responsible for safety measures. And I strongly encourage the Neighborhood Watch program to address the safety concerns. And I also want to add that we need to address the root cause of safety addiction and this homelessness too, that we need to work in collaboration with those stakeholders, community partners, alongside with social services departments who are addressing these issues as well. Thank you.
Thank you for that answer. So our next question has to deal with the financial health of the city. So obviously, as a municipality, the financial health as a city is a very important part of its operation. So what would you do as councillor to ensure that Richmond Hill is on good financial grounds while at the same time providing same or improved services for Richmond Hill and its residents?
I would say that yes, it's all about budgeting and how to spend that money, keeping in view what are the needs of the residents, what is in the best interest of our city, and how we are going to take those decisions, keeping in balance that what we are spending without putting more pressure on the residents and the taxpayers in form of increasing the taxes, either at the property taxes or other taxes we are imposing. So I strongly believe that we should not burden our residents more with bringing in more taxes on them. And I have been given a certain type of budgets to spend and to take decisions, like some individual budgets which are given for the councillors and some capital budgets as well. So I will keep the balance of all these while taking decisions, and also taking directions with all the levels of and the departments at the council table too.
All right, thank you. And just as a follow-up on the finances of the city, do you think there are any specific items that you would like more investment in, or any budget items that you think might have too much money spent on them, like any changes, specific changes you might want to make to the budget?
So when we are making the financial decisions, we have to think smart. We have to do the decisions which is in the best interest of our taxpayers. So I would like to spend more money for the decisions which are sustainable and responsible decisions as a whole for the whole Richmond Hill.
All right, thank you. And this leads into our next question, which is about the environment. So parks and green spaces are obviously a very important part of a livable city. So what would you do as a councillor to maintain and improve the environment of Richmond Hill?
Yeah, this is one of the very important topics, I would say. And Richmond Hill is a growing city, but there must be a balance between the economic development and environmental protection. The buildings, either they are the commercial buildings, residential, or any institutional space, are contribution towards the, and they're already contributing towards the Canada's greenhouse gas emission, we all know. And I would strongly advocate for the green infrastructure buildings that is the climate friendly, innovative, and healthier choices for our communities. And likewise, I strongly believe in preserving our green spaces, our like parks, wetlands, and trails. I would strongly promote the initiatives to build more outdoor recreation spaces, playgrounds, and sport fields. And my special focus is to working towards inclusive playgrounds and parks. I want to upgrade the existing playgrounds with the feature of inclusiveness, and those will cater the need of children and individuals with special needs. So this is a missing factor in many of the parks, and especially in my ward. So I will especially look into that factor too.
Thank you, sir. And our next question is, obviously, if you have to go to parks, you have to take transportation, and that includes public transportation. So one of the more important aspects of a good city is efficient transportation. What will, as a councillor, you do to develop and improve Richmond Hill's current transportation system?
Richmond Hill is a transit-oriented city, and it's a regional responsibility, and we have a good network of public transportation, but there is much more work which need to be done. I strongly promote the use of public transport to keep the carbon footprint low. And the other efficient means of transportation is walking, biking, and I think there should be more development in this mode of transportation too. There should be more interconnected kind of bike lanes to make the commute more safer as well as efficient. Further, I think that there should be more accessible bus stops and more bus shelters, because that is utmost need, keeping in view our winters. Further, I also appreciate that people are getting more aware of the environment and using carpooling. So it must be encouraged more in that.
All right, thank you. And I think this goes a bit into our next question, which is about urban development. So obviously urban development is an important part of City Council's responsibility. And on one hand, there is the lack of housing, which is facing Richmond Hill as our population continues to grow. And on the other hand, there is the issue of density of housing and adequate services that go along with the housing that many residents care about. So what is your philosophy of how City Council should balance these two issues and approach the issue of housing and urban development?
We all know that Richmond Hill is growing faster and more people will come in the future. Sorry. So we have to recognize the need for housing, more commercial buildings, more institutional buildings as well. And we have to fulfill this need without compromising our green space and environment. And we need to grow smarter. We have a good example of our new Oak Ridges Public Library, and this enabled us to earn Silver Leadership, Energy and Environment Design Certification, which is sustainable and innovative technology. It enhanced the quality of life for our community. And many of us are struggling, as you already mentioned, with the housing crisis or with affordable housing, and population of Richmond Hill increases, ages, and also becoming more diversified. So there must be more affordable housing programs, especially equipped with essential support. If elected, I would work in collaboration with developers, all related departments of the city, all levels of government, to come up with more innovative as well as sustainable and alternate ideas to cater the need of residents of Richmond Hill. And we must not forget the importance of responsible development. So we must look into low impact development initiatives, designs. I would explore funding and partnership for sustainable building projects. And I would encourage mixed kind of designs in buildings where there is not all very high-rise buildings available, or they are in the pipelines. So there is a kind of we would look into that we don't want to change the character of all the neighborhoods altogether. So we also keep that point in mind, and that low-rise buildings or mid-rise buildings and duplexes can be looked into. And I would also strongly advocate that in the new developments, the developers set aside a certain percentage of units to sell or rent at subsidized rates too.
All right, thank you. And I think another aspect that you've previously talked about in your campaign is the idea of supporting local businesses. So I was wondering if you could just expand on that a bit, and on what your idea is of how to bring in more investment into Richmond Hill and to create more job opportunities, those sorts of things.
Yes, this is a very important aspect. I'm also promoting to support the local businesses. So we know we are growing day by day, and the COVID has impacted especially the local business owners, the local entrepreneurs a lot. So we have to revive that. We have to bounce back. We have to develop certain programs, we have to explore some funding for the new entrepreneurs or the entrepreneurs who are already experiencing hurdles, and they are at the verge of closing down their businesses due to the impact of COVID, or we have to design certain incentive programs for them. As well as we also see many newcomers, new immigrants, and refugees coming to Richmond Hill too. And I have been involved with to help them and to mentor those newcomers to Canada. And I have come across that they are struggling with developing their business as well as keeping them on the track. So we have to bring those new programs and incentives to help those new immigrants to come up with the implementation of their ideas, attract the local residents to those building spots. This will also enable the local residents to get the jobs at the local level. And the same entrepreneurs who are living here, they're able to flourish their businesses. So we have to support local, we have to buy local, and we have to encourage our local business owners.
All right. And I think another aspect of what you just mentioned is working with other levels of government. So what ideas do you have on how the relationship between the other levels of government should be navigated, such as with the federal or the provincial government or the regional government, and how should Richmond Hill work with these other levels of government and develop our relationship with them?
Well, this is, you already mentioned in your question too, that it is very important because we cannot work all alone. So collaboration start from the council level, and then the council collaborate with the things which the province is responsible for. So we can develop a safe, sustainable community around. And then in the long run, the things for which the federal levels are responsible. So it's all a teamwork. Because we are the first-hand level government, which is in direct contact with the residents. And as a councillor, if I'm elected, I'm going to represent my ward. So this will be my priority to get in touch and get engaged with the community as much as I can. They can reach out to me through phone, emails. So first-hand concerns, I can take it to the council table, and then we can collaboratively work with the province that these are the concerns of the specific community or the specific group of residents or the specific ward of our level, and these can be addressed at the province as well as the federal level. And other than that, we can also explore new fundings, new incentives for our municipality, and the projects which is more helpful to enable our municipality grow sustainably and more healthier and more greener.
And thank you. And this brings us to our last question. If you were elected as a Ward 2 councillor, what would be the first issue you would try to address?
If I'm elected, of course, I'm going to represent the Ward 2. So my priorities, the issues which is a priority of my ward will be at the highest level and as a Richmond Hill as a whole. So all my priorities are interconnected, I would say. So first of all, I would love to, and I would try my best to be involved with the community engagement, to restoration of the collaborative role of council. I will make the committee of residents of Ward 2, and I would conduct public meeting with the residents and actively listening to the concerns regularly and right from the first day in my office. And the thing which will be addressing is the affordable housing. As the International Covenant on the Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights states that all signatories states must recognize the right of everyone to have an adequate standard of living for himself and his family, including the adequate food, clothing, housing, and to the continuous improvement of living conditions. So I would work in collaboration with all partners, stakeholders to address this crisis with the responsible and sustainable action. And this is interrelated and interconnected with the mental health and well-being of Richmond Hill, of the residents of the Richmond Hill. And the mental health consequences after the COVID-19 had been devastating effects on all of us. So I would advocate and I would promote and work strongly that we need inclusion, equity, and diversity-oriented mental health strategy to address, as well as how to prevent, treat, and promote the mental health in the community. So all these things interrelated, interconnected, and increase affordable housing, and especially increase supportive housing for people with mental illness is utmost important. So I will address that.
And thank you. So this concludes our interview with today with Ms. Jatoi. Thank you for being here. And yeah, thank you. And this concludes our interview.
Thank you so much for having me.